Welcome to Sucio Talk. This is episode 10. I know I said I was going to stop doing that, but I just can't stop doing that shit. So, special announcement during this episode. I don't have a guest today. And I was asking myself, I said, what can I do? How can I do a podcast with no guest? Why don't you talk about yourself, Dave? I could do that? Yeah, you could do that. Alright, let's do it then. Ladies and gentlemen, Sucio Talk, episode 10, with my damn self, David Richard Guillotti Rodriguez, born on the island of Puerto Rico, in Mayagüez, in 1989. So, what am I, 31 now? Yeah, 31 years old. 31 years young, as some people say. That bullshit. So, yeah, I have no guest today. Some things fell through, some things changed, so here I am. And what better episode to do my my career and life story than episode 10, It's been 10 episodes so far since I've been doing this. Sucio Talk started in November. So far we have 2,000 listeners. So 2,000 listeners is, I think, a big feat in 2 months. It's 1,000 listeners a month. I think I'm doing all right. I'm just a squirrel trying to get my nut out here. Trying to hustle hard and see what else is out there after my tour cooking. Now I'm not done cooking by any stretch. I left the Charter Oak last week. It was a very good end to a long tenure at the restaurant at Meadowood and the Charter Oak. I got a lot of love for Chef Costow, Chef Kat, Chef John, who had a big part in my career there, and the reason why I am the chef I am today is because of them. But that's toward the latter end of my story. Here at Sucio Talk, we like to take things all the way back. I already told you where I was born, so here I am in Puerto Rico with my mom, Jennifer. What's up? Jennifer Rodriguez, La Caballota, chilling. She's a correctional officer now, so, there you go. And I keep living in the future here, but we're going all the way back. All right, we got to go all the way back. So, basically, I moved to the States when I was 4. 4 years old. We moved to Connecticut. Now, why Connecticut? We already had family that was there. If it was me, I would have moved to New York, but Connecticut seemed like the right idea, so that's where we went. And memories I have from Puerto Rico when I was young, I actually remember a lot of shit. I was an infant, but I remember, drinking milk on Grandma's couch, chocolate milk. She'd make me Nesquik. And I remember one morning I woke up in my house and I was looking for my mom, and I couldn't find her, so I got out of my crib and I ran over to the bedroom and she wasn't in there, and I was like, where is she? Where is she? Turns out she was just in the backyard, but I was 3 years old. The fact that I remember that is insane. I have early Alzheimer's because of the marijuana now, so luckily I have my old memories to hold on to. All right, which just letting you guys know, I just found 4 old phones with a bunch of pictures in it of I'm talking about old WrestleManias, Cannibal Corpse concerts, Slayer concerts, couple ex-girlfriends, you know what I'm saying? Just mix it up a little bit. I'm not going to do that, but you know what I mean. Those Facebook memories that come up just at the worst times, just when you don't want to see somebody, just comes up hey, yeah, you remember when you were dating this person when you were unhappy? Yeah, that happened about 4 years ago now. Yeah, just remember that. So, living in Puerto Rico, my dad was there. I remember before we left, I also have a memory of talking with him before I had, left to the States. And just think about that conversation. My dad's 26 at the time, I think. He had me when he was 24. I was about, he had me when he was 24. So, he was about 28 at the time. I left when I was 4. And, just sitting there with, your 4-year-old son and trying to explain to him, like, hey, by the way, you're moving and, I'm not going to see you anymore. Was definitely, I don't think, a hard pill to swallow at that time, because I had no fucking clue what he was saying. You know what I mean? Like, I was fucking 4 years old. I'm like, oh, all right, yeah, like, I'll see you tomorrow. And then I don't really have any memories when I moved to the States. All I know is that we stayed in Stanford with my family out there. So shout out to Natalie and Ivan. Those are my Cosmos out in Connecticut. She actually owns a tattoo shop now called Sovereign Gallery in Greenwich, Connecticut. So check it out. Greenwich, Connecticut, Sovereign Gallery. Manny Valerio's her husband. He's an artist there. And Natalie, she does eyebrows and tattoos as well. So fucking big up to them. They just opened last year and were able to weather the storm of this pandemic. So shout out. Where was I? So we moved to Connecticut, chilling out in Stamford, Connecticut, right? My mom doesn't like the area, it's dangerous, so she's like, all right, let's get the fuck out of here. So we go to Meriden. Now, Meriden's not shiny by any means, even though it's funny because it's called the Silver City, but it's not a very shiny city, all right? It's kind of a dumpy town. What was cool about living there was that it was predominantly black and Puerto Rican, so it was like right at home. There was, however, obviously there's fucking white people too. There's white people everywhere, right? So the first school that I went to in Connecticut was an all English speaking school, right? So my first language was Spanish. So I had no fucking clue. They put me in this class, and all I had a memory of was that we were playing with like the class hamster, right? And they're all like passing around, and I remember taking it and passing it along, and the kids there like trying to talk to me. Everybody was really nice, but I had no fucking clue what anybody was saying to me, right? So I went home and I was super frustrated. I was crying. I was like, Mom, they don't understand what the fuck I'm saying, and it was the first time, in my life, because you're sheltered, you're with your family. Everyone has to love you. You know what I mean? So, everybody treats you nice for the most part. And then you go into this world where no one gives a fuck about you, right? They're nice, but they don't give a fuck about you. And, you're the only brown kid there. You're like, what the fuck is going on here? So then they moved me to the other side of town, the bilingual part of town. You know what I'm saying? And I ended up going to school, elementary and bilingual, and then by the time I got to middle school, I was already, pretty well versed in English. So I got out of ESL and went to Lincoln Middle School in Meriden, Connecticut, a piece of shit school. It's no longer there, so I can't even take my kids there. It's a fucking parking lot now. They built a bigger, better school next to it. So, shout out to them, for ruining my memories here. I can't even show my kids around, show them where I went to school. My elementary school's gone too. Then, at this time, I don't really have an interest in cooking per se. I have an interest in eating. I'm always in the kitchen, kind of, trying to sneak a piece of chicken or eat a plantain or two before a plátano or two before the cooking's done. Things like that. But as for the cooking itself, I didn't have any interest in that whatsoever. I was in my own little fantasy world. You know what I mean? Only child. So I was fucking bouncing around and making my own movies in my head like a jackass. So, that's what I was doing. And I go, my decision is to go to high school, and I had two choices. I could go to Votech school, which is funny because Louis C.K. always says vocational school is where they take all your dreams and narrow them down to 13 things, right? So there's plumbing, electrician, culinary, hairdresser. I'm talking everything, right? And these are open businesses, right? So you can get shit fixed there for really cheap, and it lets the students work on it. So you can get your hair done, you can get your car fixed, you can have fucking cabinets built, whatever the fuck you want. Now, mind you, it's high school kids doing it with the teacher, so it may not be the best quality, but it's definitely priced correctly. So I ended up with three shops that I decided to take. So that was carpentry, culinary arts, and industrial electronics, where you basically you build motherboards, right? So I was sitting there with a soldering iron, soldering these little fucking kits together, and that was the class basically, and I was really good at it. The shop teacher there was like really impressed, and he was always like, "Oh, like you should pursue this. You're good at this. You have a natural gift for it, But me, I was like, there's no way that I'm gonna be soldering motherboards together for the rest of my life. Because at that point, as a kid, you thought that whatever you did was what you did for the rest of your fucking life, Mainly because, that's what your parents did before you, but, not in my case because we were migrating and all that shit. So, so I picked culinary arts, and I remember walking into that kitchen because they were just building it. They just had built this kitchen in this school. This school didn't have culinary before the year that I started going there, right? So that was something that drew me over there. First of all, I was like, let me check this out. I walked into that kitchen, man, and like the stainless steel, everything is so big. The refrigerator's bigger than you. Everything is dangerous. You look around and it's just knives and fire and just chaos. And that's what drew me into it first, was just the kitchen. And it's not like the kitchen at home, because to be honest, I don't like cooking at home. I don't like that shit. I cook in the kitchen at work, and like that's where I do it, right? But when I walked in there, man, I was like, this is amazing. They had a blast chiller, which I found out later that not everyone has a fucking blast chiller. That's a luxury thing to have, So we're in this school, and we got this multi-million-dollar kitchen, and I don't know if it was multi-million-dollars. I'm just throwing that out there, but it was a very nice kitchen for a public vocational school in Meriden, Connecticut, right? So I take this class, and I remember also the other memory I have is cutting an onion for the first time, and just kind of looking around the room and being like, I could do this for a job, like just cut onions. That's amazing, right? I want to get paid to cut onions, So I immediately was in love with it. I was like, there is nothing else I want to care about other than this, right? And that was just like learning how to be a cook. That was all I cared about, was learning all the history behind it, who Escoffier was and who Carême was, and the identification of different equipment. And we used a tilt skillet to make rice in. We could make like 44 quarts of rice at a time, and big flat tops. And we were doing, the way it was the juniors and the sophomores would do service for the student body, right? So we do like 400 covers a day. It'd be like I think there was 12 students. So 12 kids would do 400 people a day, and it was easy. It was, salads. Burger day was burger day. We'd just be sandbagging burgers all day. You know what I mean? To the person who doesn't cook, sandbagging is when you cook things way ahead of time, so you're not in the shits when you're doing the service. Is frowned upon, but sometimes when you are short-staffed, you have no choice. You must sandbag. So, we're in this school, and I do this culinary program, and I'm in love with it, and I think the teachers there also saw that I had something, because they took their extra time to kind of teach me the ways. And you know, I had this one teacher who used to be in the Olympics for culinary, Chef Daniel Verano, and he was always trying to show me pâtés and terrines and all that. He was into like that kind of stuff, like buffet catering, platters, aspic, and you know, that realm of things, which was where the competition was back in the day. Like, you didn't make dishes, you made fucking big ass like platters of meats and shit. So, you know, I'm doing this schooling, and during this time I'm still, you know, playing video games, and you know what I mean, just like hanging out with my friends, and then, you know, I got a job. I started working at KFC, right, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and that's where I got the cook lifestyle, you know. And you don't think so, right? And I wasn't even cooking. I was a server / cashier, meaning I would pack up the chicken and the mashed potatoes and shit, and then take the money and, you know, be the person that talked to you. But I remember I loved the pace, and I loved the scumbags that I worked with. You know, it's the first time, like, it's the first place I learned how to buy weed. You know, and it was, I didn't start smoking weed there, but when I did start smoking weed, that's where I bought it. And we'd go out in the back dumpster area and smoke weed, and then people would come to the drive-thru, and we'd like go take their order. Or sometimes when the manager, who was closed, you know, was not there, we'd close the restaurant at like 8. And, you know, we were supposed to be open for another 2 hours, but we'd just be like, fuck it, let's just get high, close the door, cook some chicken, clean up, and we'll get out of here early, you know? Because, believe it or not, you were fucking busy at KFC. Busy. I'm talking about line out the door busy. Line of cars out the drive-thru. Doing, you know, I would look at the receipts at the end of the night. We pull in $30,000, $35,000 a night. You know, now being a chef, I look at that and I'm like, they were killing it. Making $30,000 in a Meriden, Connecticut KFC. Not to mention, like, what do KFCs in New York City make? You know, that's ridiculous. Great restaurants don't make that much money. You know what I mean? On you know, normal nights. Not going to say not really busy nights, but like normal nights. So here I am, again, in high school, right, going through my shit, going through puberty. I remember when I didn't have leg hairs, and I was like, why won't my leg hairs grow? Because it was like all the other kids had hair on their legs, and I'd be like, I'm so far behind, right? But then I grew tall over one summer, and I like hit my stride. I was like, all right, there it is. But even to this day, I realize, like, I'm not grown. You know, I'm still scratching the surface on what is grown. You know, and if you think you're grown and you're my age, or you're fucking 45, you're still not there, B. All right, fucking take it back a few. You still got something to learn. But you know, I had a decision at that time. I started running cross country, and cross country was cool because the chef of the freshman and sophomore class was the cross country coach. So I got really close with him, and he told me that he went to Johnson & Wales, right? So I was like, you know, my parents want me to go to college. I don't know where the fuck to go. And I looked this place up, you know, on America Online. And it was like, I realized that I didn't have to take the SATs. And I also realized a little bit that going to culinary school is not real school, right? So I figured that if I went to Johnson & Wales because they had 4-year programs, I would be going to school, but not really going to school, if you get what I mean. Now, many years later, I regret that decision because I'm still fucking paying it off, and the school loans are fucking crazy. And I know you guys are with me. Some of you guys are with me here. So thank God to all those that did your due diligence and got your scholarships and wrote essays for money, because right now I'm wishing I would have done that. But it's okay. You know, we live and we learn. We move on. So I go to Johnson Wales, right? I say, let me do this. So I go to Johnson Wales. My mother drives me there, right? I remember going to the dorms the first day. She drops me off. She's like unpacking my clothes and shit. I'm not asking her to do any of this. She's just doing it. I think she feels nostalgic. You know. I go to the thing to get my ID and all that, do all that. Then I meet some kid there, right? My parents leave, and I meet some kid, because I smoked weed at the time, and I didn't have any weed, so this kid had some weed, and I met him, and we went up and smoked some weed in this neighborhood in Providence, Rhode Island. My first day in college. I have no fucking clue where I am, who I'm with, right? So you're just kind of navigating this new world that you live in. And, you know, that's when I met Tyler Vorse of Truffle Shuffle. And, you know, things happen in your life for a reason. And, you know, they always say, well, God's plan, and you have a path, and God's path. You know, I believe that there is a higher power. It may not be the God that is in the books, but there definitely is something that is putting things in line, right? So I meet Tyler, because, you know, Tyler has been a great influence in my life. So I meet Tyler, and we become the best of friends, and we actually end up living together for all 4 years of college, you know. And at this point, I had never worked in a restaurant, right? I had done, you know, internships at hotels and shit like that, but I never worked, like, on the line at a restaurant. Until I met Charlie Apple, right? Now, Charlie Apple, he didn't let me tell this story on his podcast, but I will tell the story on my podcast, right? Because it's my story, goddammit, and I just don't want his mother to get mad at him, right? So, first time I met Charlie Apple, I hadn't smoked weed in a few days, and I'm like, man, I could really go for a joint. You know, if anybody has anything, right? I didn't ask anybody that. I was just thinking that in my head. Walking right ever, living my life. We go up to a party on Ohio Avenue, right? 87 Ohio Avenue in Providence, Rhode Island. Don't go there now, because I don't know who the fuck lives there, okay? But you've been warned, all right? Don't tell them I told you. So we go there and we party, and, you know, this is the first time I kind of seen Charlie Apple around, never really met him. So I look over at him, and he's rolling a joint paper around a nugget, like, meaning he didn't break it down. You know, the nugget was whole, and he wrapped a zigzag leaf around it, right? And then licked it and, like, rolled a joint, but didn't really break anything up. It was just like a paper around a nugget, right? So he lit it up, and he was smoking it. So I sat right next to him. I was like, I'm gonna get in on this joint, you know. And ever since then, we've been the best of friends, you know. So that's how me and Charlie Apple met. Again, he wouldn't let me tell the story on his podcast, but I will tell the story on mine. All right. So I'm in college, having a great time, meeting Tyler, meet Charlie, meet a bunch of people that are, you know, I'm still friends with to this day. Have a great time in the dorms. East Hall, Johnson & Wales, Providence, Rhode Island. What up? You know, Maddie Kammer, who I also did a podcast with, lived in South Hall. I had a buddy named Grant who lived in East Hall. I'm sorry, he lived in West Hall. That was like where all the weirdos were. Like all the weird sexual introverts that actually ended up having way better sex than anybody in college. Like, they would have the weird orgies, and we'd all be stuck having regular sex over in the regular dorms. You know what I mean? But there's definitely a value to being a nerd in college. Okay, I will say that. So at this point, you know, I'm cooking, but I don't think I'm taking it that serious. You know, I'm not like, this is what I want to do. You know, I knew that I needed a backup plan. Because what I've always wanted to do in my life is be a stand-up comedian. That is, like, number one, right? But I always knew that you need something to fall back on. So, and for me, that wasn't a realistic choice. Could it have been? Fuck yeah. I think now, like, due to the strength of my mentality, I think I could have done it. And, you know, life's not over yet, motherfuckers. I got a podcast, right? I might do some stand-up shit. You never know. So I'm cooking. There's a lot of ums in this fucking podcast, too. I'm going to stop doing that, all right? I'm going to make a conscious effort. There's probably going to be a few more, but I'm going to make a conscious effort for you guys, all right? So I start working with Charlie, right? So Charlie comes to my house, and we're trading nuggets, right? And he's like, hey, I got this job, this place called Trattoria Simpatico. I'm the grill cook there. You want to come down and check it out? So I said, all right, yeah, I'll come down and check it out. And, you know, this was my first kitchen job, you know. So I get there, I do my stage. Shout out to Chris Karuba and Chef Farrell. And, you know, it goes well because I know Charlie. I mean, I just cut some fucking lettuce and shit. I didn't do anything crazy. But basically got the job. You know, I was super grateful. I'm on Garde Manger now, right? I'm on Garde Manger at a restaurant. Never done that in my life. And you quickly realize how much you don't know when you start working at a real fucking restaurant. Because up until this time, you work at school where you have safety nets. And here, people look you straight in the eyes and say, are you fucking stupid? Why did you do that? You know what I'm saying? So it was a real wake-up call when it came to that kind of shit. And I'm grateful for all of those wake-up calls. Like, there was not one that was uncalled for. I'm grateful for all of them. And actually, there was Kathleen Champagne was the one that taught me how to make the sickest vinaigrettes. You know what I mean? Because, you know, you learn in school how to make a vinaigrette here and there, but there it was like you made vinaigrettes every fucking day. You emulsified shit every day. So there's no way that she was going to let you break anything. You know what I mean? So she would always show you the right way to emulsify things, and I think that she was not a chef by any means. Didn't go to culinary school, just was a cook and was a fucking badass at it at the same, like, could bang, you know, could just work at high pace, high stress, fuck it, let's get it done, you know. She was a badass. She was a fucking badass online, you know. I don't think she cooks anymore to this day, but, you know, fucking badass. Taught me a lot. And, you know, so I got Charlie on grill, I got me on Garde Manger, and this classic fare, so, you know, it's Caesar salads and sherry vinaigrette, black pepper salads, and shit like that, you know. So I worked that summer, get my ass kicked there. I was grateful that I could go to the bar because no one carded me. I looked a little older, and I was the only brown guy around, so I guess, you know, they didn't card me. So I would just drink and whatever at the bar with everybody else. So I started having shift drinks pretty early, you know. And during this time, I'm living in Providence, so the commute is 45 minutes, you know, to Trattoria Simpatico in Jamestown, Rhode Island, which is beautiful. Actually, at the end of the night, sometimes we used to go jump off the pier, and there would be those bioluminescents. And the more you know, kind of wave yourself in the water, the more the bioluminescence would shine and shit like that. So, you know, we'd always do that at the end of the night till Chef Farrell was like, hey, you know, the fucking sharks come up to feed at that time, you know, and we were like, oh, we got freaked out, we didn't go again. He was probably wrong about that, but, you know, I wasn't gonna put his knowledge to test, you know, at that time. I loved working there. I thought the pace was awesome. It was fucking 400, you know, 200 for lunch, 400 for dinner every fucking night. We'd get our asses handed to us, and you felt good. You know, you worked hard, you cleaned hard, and you drank hard after. And that was the way it was. And that summer was amazing. I learned a lot about myself, a lot of what I could take, and if I really wanted to do this thing that I was spending so much time on, you know. And I think the answer was yes, you know, like, fuck yeah, let's do it, right? So the next
year, right? I don't work that whole year. You know, I'm kind of hustling, selling some weed on the side and shit like that. The next year, I get on Lunch Grill, right? So get my fucking ass kicked every day again for that summer. I stayed through the winter, did my internship there. Then, you know, time's coming up at school. It's about to be done. You know, Tyler's moving on to New York. He's about to go work at Dovetail. I'm like, what the fuck do I do? You know, at that time, you have a lot of emotions going through your head. You're like, what do I do with my life after college? Is cooking for me? Where do I go cook? My friend is cooking here. It's awesome. Where do I go? Am I a failure for cooking at this place? Should I have done this? You know, there's a lot of doubt, a lot of I don't know, and it's hard to navigate that when you're, you know, 20 years old. You don't know what the fuck you're doing, especially when your family isn't around. You're living by yourself. You're paying rent. You're self-sustainable. You know. So we sipping on this beer called Dark Sarcasm Porter by Barrel Brothers. It's fucking delicious. A guy named Andrew at Charter Oak gave it to me before I left. Didn't get to drink it in Napa, but now I'm drinking it. You know what I'm saying? So, here I am. Rock you like a hurricane. Okay. I was going to stop doing that now. So I'm working at Tutorials in Patago, and I need something else, right? And I hear through the grapevine about this chef called Jake Rojas, right? So Jake was a chef out of El Paso, Texas, and he was coming from Vegas. He had just done his time at Robichon, that was a 3-star in Vegas, when Vegas had the Michelin stars. So big deal to me, obviously. I'm like, holy fuck. 3 stars, he worked under those guys, he must be the shit, right? So I go there, and I wasn't even planning on going there. It was one day I was just like, I was on the ODBC, right? The ODBC is the Ocean Drive Blunt Cruise. It's in Newport, Rhode Island, right? And it's in the High Times magazine. So if you ever want to take a ride over there, you can smoke some weed and drive around that little path there. And it's a famous blunt cruise. There's mansions, there's a cliffside, there's water. You know what I mean? There's everything you need to see while you're getting high. All right? And driving. I don't condone that, by the way. No comment. So I went on this cruise, and then, you know, I saw the restaurant, Tallulah on Thames. There's a sign. I drove right by it. And I was like, holy fuck, that's the restaurant that my buddy was telling me about, that this chef works at, right? So I said, when is a better time than fucking now to go there and try to see if I can get a job, right? And I had just smoked weed, right? So I'm like, but I didn't care at that night, because you don't care. You don't know where you're at. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. So you're like, man, whatever, let me go do this, right? So I walk to the back door of the kitchen, and there's this guy named Todd and Anthony, and they're like, hey, I'm like, hey, is Chef Jake here? And he's like, oh, he's right there in the dining room. I go in there. They're closed that day. I think they were just prepping. And he was like, I'm like, hey, how are you? I think I want to take things to the next level. I work here, and I'd like to get better. I'd like to work here. And, he's like, let's have you stage, right? So I staged, and I remember we were in front of the house class, basically dining room class, and it was me and Tyler and Douglas Higley. What up, Doug, from Rhode Island? And I remember getting out, and I was super nervous, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go for this stage. And he was like, good luck, man. He was being a lunch lady at RISD, so he had a little bit of an easier, less stressful job than I was going to. So I go for my stage, and I sucked. Obviously, I couldn't really perform, right? Because I had never performed to the level that they wanted. I never used a spoon while I cooked. I used tongs, and so that was rough, right? And then at the end of the night, he's like, all right, you have 15 minutes to make me a plate. And I'm like, oh, shit, right? So I'm shitting a brick right now. I never fucking cooked for anybody. So up until that point, I'm like, I'm super shy about my skills. I know I don't know shit, so I don't cook for fucking anybody. I don't cook at home, right? I don't cook. I'm just like afraid, right? I'm 21 years old and I'm fucking afraid. So I cooked this man. I took one of his risotto kits, and he's like, "You sure you want to do that?" And I did it anyway, right? And I just went sweet and sour with it. I picked some things off the pastry line, and I just put this thing together, and it was probably gross, but he respected that I tried to do a risotto. After he was like, I know you're gonna fuck that up. Why do you want to do that kind of thing? And so I got the job, right? So I get the job. And I started at this restaurant, and I got my ass handed to me. And I'm talking about not by how busy we were, but by chef and his standards. This was full-on physical forming. Not hitting me, but just you move like this. You put your hands like this. You grab the spoon like this. You baste like this. You check the oven like this, right? Everything needs to be this way, right? One way. And they're just like me and Charlie talked about, it was the Tallulah way, the right way, the wrong way, right? And we were definitely doing things the fucking Tallulah way, right? And I just remember how important it was for us to practice those things over and over and over again. The form of what it is to cook, right? To have style and to make it look amazing, and that's not all you're focusing on, but it's part of what you're doing. You are, in the TKRG they say finesse. It's just the way you work is just clean. It's free. It's free of clutter. There's no redundancy in your movements. You know what I mean? So the way that he ran his kitchen was amazing, and everything. The first time in my life where the labels were cut with scissors, right? Wherever I was, it was like you just fucking tear it with your hands. The labels always had jagged edges, and that was the first place where it was like you cut your fucking label with scissors, right, to make straight lines. And why do you do that? It's because you've spent so much time working on your mise en place. Why wouldn't you spend the time to label it correctly and nicely, right? To just showing everything respect from A to Z when you do it, and that was the biggest part of the culture there. And part of the reason why I'm so successful today, or have my success. I'm not as successful as I fucking need to be, I'll tell you that much. But I definitely have gained knowledge and strength because of my time there, And we did cool things while we were there, We cooked at James Beard. Before that, though, funny story, I go to James Beard to eat, right? Me, Jake, Chef Jake, and Charlie Apple get on a fucking train in Rhode Island. We start drinking at 6 in the morning. So we're drinking at 6 in the morning, and we get to New York. It's about 9, right? We get breakfast. We're having mimosas. We're fucking hammered all day long. We get to the James Beard house. We're about to eat a dinner cooked by Beau Vestal. And what's his name? He was a chef of Farmstead in Rhode Island, and he's also the chef of the Townsman in Boston. I really got to fucking get better at that. Just knowing the names of the fucking the people I'm fucking talking about. Might as well do the fucking Bill Burr shit and look this shit up right now. Fucking Townsman chef. Townsman Boston chef. Matt Jennings. There we go. Thank God for the goddamn internet. I'll tell you. So Matt Jennings, right? Him and Bo Vestal are cooking a dinner at James Beard. We go, right? Me, Charlie, and Chef Jake. And we're fucking drunk, right? All of us are drunk. I'm hitting on old ladies on the dance floor. It's a mess. So we finally sit down, and I end up passing out at the table. I wake up every time they serve food, and I eat it. And that's the way that it rolls. You know, the whole time I'm there, it's hey, are you almost done? Yeah. They take the plate, and then they bring the next thing. I wake up, eat that plate, they clear it, bring the next one. I wake up, eat that plate, pass out, they clear it. So that happens the whole entire fucking dinner, right? After that, we went and did more drinking, and I think I slept at the restaurant, so I was fine after, right? So I got my rest, okay? So after that, I'm basically hammered drunk, whatever. We eat, we leave, and it was just a memorable night in New York. After that, fast forward a year later, we're cooking at James Beard, right? Chef Jake is cooking at James Beard. We're with him. And I remember the anxiety of cooking that dinner because I had anxiety, right? You have anxiety. You can't sleep because you're like, how are those pork loins going to be? How is this going to be? And, Chef Jake and them put us up in hotel rooms, and I knew that was a big thing for them. That wasn't easy. And they did that for us, and truly appreciate it. And they took us out to dinner, and it was fucking fabulous. And we cooked that night, and that night I'm cooking these pork loins, right? I'm having a great time, and not having a great time. I'm shitting a brick is what I'm doing, but that to me was a great fucking time, right? And all of a sudden this lady walks in and she's pointing at me, and I'm like, what the fuck, this lady, who is this lady? She's pointing at me, she's like, you. And I'm like, excuse me? She's like, you. I was at the table last year with you eating dinner. And I was like, holy shit, because I knew what she was going to say. You passed out. She's like, you ate all of our bread, you drank all of our water, and you fell asleep during every step of service. Every time there was food in front of you, you were awake. But every time that there was any downtime and there was no food, you were sleeping. And I thought that was fucking hilarious. And she said, to this day, one of the best James Beard dinners she's ever been to. So, shout out to that lady. I had no idea what her name is or where she is now, but definitely had a great fucking time both times, eating there and cooking. But just, full circle. Life comes around and lets you know that you were a jackass a year ago. You know what I'm saying? So, at this point, in Tallulah's tenure, we cook James Beard, come back. It's spring, right? We pick asparagus one morning. Chef Jake breaks his ankle, right? I'm the veg cook at the time. Charlie Apple's the meat cook, right? And Annabelle Atkins is on pastry. And he breaks his leg. First time that we're running the restaurant without him. And I just got kind of pushed into that position, hey, you're the next up. And I remember that I was proud and grateful and scared that it fell on me, that I could be a leader in this kitchen that I didn't even know I could be, and so he breaks his leg, right, comes back, we do the service, I'm proud of myself, right, because we did a good job, and he comes back, said, I heard you did great. And we had a menu meeting that night. You know what I mean? He went upstairs. He's like, I got to go rest. But before we left, we went up to his apartment and we fucking talked about the next day what the food was going to be. And I'm like, this man broke his ankle, his tibula and his fibula fucking 2 hours ago. And he wants to talk about what the food at his restaurant's going to be, right? Talk about a man who is determined, is Chef Jake Rojas. And right now he has a taqueria called Tallulah's Taqueria in Providence, Rhode Island that's doing amazingly. I'm sure he's got other spots as well, meaning locations, but I haven't kept up in a while. But I'm actually going to go out there, I think, in February. Going to test my way out to Rhode Island and COVID test my way out to Rhode Island. We'll see. And see him. So hopefully, shout out to you, Chef Jake. Taught me an unbelievable work ethic, and I had learned work ethic before, from my chefs in the high school and the guys I worked with at KFC. Like everybody that I worked with always worked hard. Like I saw laziness later in my career, and just doing that. See, I keep saying and. I'm going to draw attention to that, guys, and it's going to annoy the shit out of you, but I don't care. You okay? So. It's like, I don't care about my fans. No, that's not true. I'm sorry. So, I'm at Tallulah's, and he breaks his ankle. I take over as sort of the sous chef. And at this time, nobody's like, hey, you're a sous chef. No, it's just, I'm just doing it, right? Because it needs to be done. And he's grateful for it, and everything's great. He recuperates. We go through that summer, we crush it. And all of a sudden, it's time to leave. It's time to go. It's been 3.5 years. And he told me, he's like, I don't want to keep you here longer. Like, you need to go, So at that point, I'm like, okay, well, where the fuck am I going to go? So earlier than that, I had gotten the news that Tyler had gotten a job at the French Laundry. So, I call him and I'm like, hey, can I stay on your couch? And he's like, yeah, fuck yeah, you can stay on my couch. So I'm like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get a job at the restaurant in Meadowood. Now, during the time where I was at Tallulah's, we had this conversation about me going to work somewhere better to get better, His words to me were, if you want to be the best, you got to work with the best. That's what he's like, it's all about who you surround yourself with. And he always had a saying, it was like, do you want to be the best or do you want to be like the rest? And that's what he would always tell me. And I remember that I was in everything that you do, and that really stuck with me in whatever it was. And whenever I was looking for the next restaurant to work at, I picked two. It was either Atelier Cren or the restaurant at Meadowood. But more so the restaurant at Meadowood. I looked at videos of that place over and over and over again, and I fantasized about working there, and I fantasized about what I would say when I met the people that worked there. And I fantasized about failing miserably and having to come back, and I fantasized about, excelling and being amazing, and, all these things flying through my head. I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do, but I had to do something, I knew that I had to do something. So, again, I go on the ODBC, right? The Ocean Drive Blunt Cruise, this time on a bike. And I go out there to this rock. And I remember very ritualistic, I smoked a joint and went out to the rock. And I was like, I'm going to go to the restaurant in Meadowood. I'm going to work there. And in 3 years, I'm going to be sous chef. And that was the promise that I had made to myself, right? And I knew that it would take some hustle to get there. So, I had seen Napa earlier. I had taken a road trip because we had every January off from Tallulah's. I took a road trip in January and I saw Napa for the first time, and I knew that that's where I want to live. I was like, this is where I want to live for sure, you know. And I made the decision to move to Napa, right? After 30 days in Puerto Rico eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which was amazing, by the way. And I remember just like gathering the clothes that I was gonna use, the casual clothes, which was about 3 articles. I'm talking 3 shirts, 3 pants, you know, and then the rest of it was chef pants and chef coats, right? And that's all that was in my luggage, and $150, which I pretty much spent on weed when I got there, but it was fine. Tyler took care of me, and when I moved in, his girlfriend was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, who is this guy? And they had just gotten a dog, so this new dog is just up, and he's fucking harassing me, and I'm trying to sleep, and I'm trying to work at a new restaurant while severely out of shape, you know, 30 pound plus than I've ever been in my life, you know. It's crazy. So basically, so Napa was a different experience for me, you know, because I didn't know anybody. I only knew Tyler, and you know, I remember the day I decided, like, I knew that I was going to go stage at the restaurant in Meadowood, but when I got there, I was like, obviously, like, fucking exhausted, and I didn't want to do anything. So I spent the first few days partying. Okay. And then I remember making the decision. I was like, okay, I got to go stage at this restaurant if I'm going to make it, right? So my buddy Tom, he drove me there. So he picks me up. You know, I press my chef coat, throw it on a hanger, throw it over my shoulder, and, you know, get in the car with Tom. Tom drives me to Meadowood, and I'm realizing how far away Meadowood is from Napa, which is where Tyler was staying. It's like fucking 30 minutes away, you know. I thought this whole time that I was going to be able to walk there, you know. So Tom brings me there, and he drops me off in the parking lot, and he's like, look, if you come back in 5 minutes, I'll know your stage is over. If you don't come back in 5 minutes, I'm going to leave because I'm going to assume that your stage is on. I said, okay, Tom, thank you. So I step out, and the first person I meet who's wearing a Restaurant on Meadowood chef coat is Howard Coe. Howard Coe works out in Dubai now. He's a chef in a hotel in Dubai, and what up to Howard? And he goes, hey, what's up, man? And I'm like, hey, I'm staying with Tyler right now. And he's like, oh, no shit, I used to work with Tyler at Canapé at the French Laundry. And I was like, oh, no way. So I was like, oh, good, I'm in. I was like, no fucking way this guy knows Tyler and used to work with him, right? So he goes in and he tells him that I'm there. So out comes Kat, and she kind of does like a baseball stance, looks at me like, is this real? Is this motherfucker coming over here? So they bring me in the kitchen, and I talk to Chef Jake, and I'm like, I'm David, and I'm from a farm-to-table restaurant in Rhode Island. And he's like, all restaurants are farm-to-table. You know, and I'm like, wow, I'm a fucking idiot. No shit. And, you know, he's like, you can stay. He put me with Howard all day, and he's like, if he fucks up, he's out of here, you know? I had no idea that it was 12 days. So it's 12 days of Christmas. It's Tartine is doing their day. And what's it called? Manresa's the next day. So Kinch is 2 cutting boards from me, cutting the largest mound of black truffles I'd ever seen in my life. And that moment right there, I knew that I was in the right place. Right? I'll never forget that. Just looking at him nonchalantly chopping
so much money on his cutting board. And, in Rhode Island, we just got like truffle peelings and shit. And that was expensive. So I knew how much truffles were. And just seeing that much on that man's board, I was like, is money no object? It's like, who bought this?
This is preposterous. How much does this dinner cost?
Who paid for this? Excuse me. So I worked there, I staged, and I'm staging during 12 days, and I remember there was one moment when it was the 12th day, which is Chef's Day, and I come behind him, and I'm like, can I help you plate, Chef? And he's like, no, don't touch anything. And, now I get it. It's your name on the door, right? When you're the chef, you're the fucking guy on the door. If your cook makes a mistake or fucks something up or something's too salty, whose fault is it? It's not the cook. It's the chef's fault, right? The guy that they know is running the place. So that sometimes is what causes the intensity of some chefs, because they're like, yo, this is my name on the line, dog. And I could respect now that he said that to me. At that time, I was like, oh, shit, shut up and stay in the corner, It was more of an obedience thing. But now it's like, okay, I understand. Like, he didn't trust me at the time, to do the right thing that he needed. And it was this spiny tail haché with seasoned with olive oil and Maldon salt, and it was wrapped in lardo, and there was fresh olio novo on it and caviar, and that was the dish, and succulents from the garden. It was fucking amazing dish. That was the first dish that I saw there, and I ended up being able to plate it because the way 12 days was back in the day was it was a banquet, right? So you did 60 plates of the same plate over and over and over and over, stop. And then you did the next course over and over and over and over, stop. Which was a good way of doing it, because the kitchen ended early. But I think that the food suffered because a lot of times you'd put out 80 plates of one course and you'd be like, damn, I wish I could do that again. If I could do that again, I'd do this, this, and that. This way, when you're doing it service style, meaning with individual seatings, and you're doing a guest chef dinner, that person is eating it at a restaurant, right? So like a restaurant style, right? So a la carte kind of thing, but not really because you're getting a prefix menu. But you're eating things in progression. And as the night progresses, there might be things that at the beginning of the night were discussed for the dish, but then will not be done during the dinner, right? Because things change, the ingredients come in, they're not so hot. Maybe you thought something would work and it doesn't work. There's all these things that happen, right, throughout the day that dictate what actually ends up on that plate at the end of the day. And that's probably the hardest part about doing old dishes, because there's nothing worse than cooking something and then cooking something again and having the person the second time be like, oh, that wasn't as good as the first time I had it, So that's something to look out for. Anyway, I got lost on this rant. So where are we at here? We are drinking a beer, talking about my time at the restaurant in Meadowwood. So, we're doing 12 days, we're doing all these things, and that 12 days is the best learning experience because you grow so much in such a short time. It's like dog years. You come out of 12 days and 9 years older, 7 years older. It's just like that's how much experience you had from the whole thing. It was super fun to do, every day new menu for 12 days, and it was exhausting, but well worth it, and I would definitely do it again. And, one of those goals is to just be that good that you get invited to do 12 days. You know what I'm saying? Be regarded to do events of that caliber, I'm sure that will take its course at some point in my career, but right now, this is Sucio talk, baby, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm at the restaurant in Meadowood. I am working my way up the ladder, right? I started on Garde Manger. I was working with my boy Carl. Carl Alexander, I learned a lot from Carl Alexander. So, you're on the Garde Manger line with a cook who's worked at 11 Madison Park. So he's coming from a truly disciplined kitchen. Daniel Hume out there. So he comes in and, or I come in rather, right? He was already there. So first I'm on tableside commis. Right, so I should explain that first. When I got to the restaurant at Meadowood, I was commis first. I worked at 6 in the morning, and at the time I had a girlfriend. We had one car, so I had to, drop her off first, and then go to work, or get dropped off by her first, and then she would go to work with the car, which means I would have to take the bus later. So I would have to walk from Meadowood to the center of St. Helena, which is not a fucking nice walk, just because you have to cross this major highway that just feels like you're going to get hit by a car at any moment. But thankfully, no cars hit me there. Cars hit me later on in life, but not there. So we're flowing through, right? I'm working tableside commis, I'm going out to the tables, I'm saucing things, I'm talking about dishes, I'm giving kitchen tours. And this was the first time where I had seen when the guests come in, the entire kitchen welcomes them. So the guests would come in and everybody say, "Hi, welcome." And, they'd leave and everybody say, "Good night, thank you," and that's what we were programmed to say when they came in and they left. And, for a lot of people some people that came through would be like, "Oh, that kind of seems fake that you guys are saying that." But I fucking meant that shit, Like, from the bottom of my heart, I want you to have the best time you possibly can at the restaurant. I didn't want you there to have a bad time, and it should never feel like you are doing a chore when you're doing what you love, right? If this is truly what you love, then love it. Don't say you love it and then complain about it. That is the worst quality, Really makes work negative. You don't want that. You want to be positive. You want to be cool, man. You want to be cool. So working at the restaurant in Meadowood. Then after that, it's one night. It's a hairy night that people are getting fucking roasted left and right. All of a sudden, this kid gets kicked out of the kitchen, and then he makes a mistake of looking back right before he's about to leave the kitchen. And chef goes, "Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You know what I mean? Don't look back here, motherfucker." So he leaves, and he looks at me and he says, "Get on Garde Manger or you're done too, or you're going home too," basically. And there's my alarm. My 9:45 order fish alarm for the Charter Oak. This is, you got to remind yourself to do those things, or else you miss out. And let me tell you something about buying fish. You only have a certain time before the cutoff of the company, right? They cut you off at 1 or 2, right? That's when you can't place any more orders. And sometimes they call you at 4 in the morning before they leave the warehouse to let you know whether or not they have your fish, or, So it's on you to either have your ringer on high so you can talk to somebody, or you better hope you wake up on time and catch it, because if not, you're going to be in a world of hurt when you wake up at 7 a.m. and you know that your fish is not on its way. Again, another rant, but that's okay because this is Sucio-talk. Okay? As I'm drinking more beer here, it's getting a little bit crazy, but that's okay. And I keep saying that's okay because it is. All right? So I'm at the restaurant in Meadowood. I move on, right? I go to Garmager. And now I'm working with Carl, one of the most organized cooks that I've ever worked with in my life. Organized, knows what he's doing, the man. So I'm truly grateful to be able to learn from him because he taught me organization. He made me rewrite my prep list every single day. After a while, I recognized that it's only his crazy way of doing it. You don't really have to do that. But he also recognized that I was a dumbass, and I learned that way, right? I had to do things over and over again. I had to write it out. I had to see it in order to be able to perform. So that's what we did, you know. So then I went to Snacks, which is Canapé Station. Got my ass handed to me there. We did some cool events. Wired by Design was a cool event, and we did, you know, an event at Skywalker Ranch right outside of the symphony recording room. And that was cool because, you know, you could kind of hear it through the cracks. And 12 Days was cool. I just talked about that, and you know, that was the cool thing about the restaurant on Meadowood is we were always doing guest things. We did fucking Ryan Seacrest's birthday party, you know, and that was a trip. Ryan Seacrest's birthday party was amazing. We did it at the Cave at the Reserve, right? And then afterwards, we found out that the front of the house was going to go party with them, and there was no fucking way that we were going to let the front of the house party with these people and we were going to party with them. You know, I'm talking about Randy Jackson from American Idol. I'm talking about the Kardashians. I'm talking about Kanye. I'm talking about all these people at Ryan Seacrest's birthday party. J-Lo was there. I don't think she was at the club scene, but she was definitely there because I fed her foie gras. Not to her mouth, just like on her plate, but I was inches from her. Goddamn Puerto Rican goddess. J-Lo. Where was I? I'm going to say it one more time. Working at the restaurant in Meadowood. Yeah, it was great. So, you know, Garmager with Carl, he taught me organization. Then I went on, you know, Canapés. That was great. Then I get moved to Meat Station, which doesn't happen. Usually you go Canapé to fish. I went to Meat Station. They decided to give me a shot. It was between me and this other kid. The other kid was newer, but he had more experience. But they said, hey, what the hell? You know, Dave's been, you know, sucking dick for a while, so we might as well have him work Meat Station, right? He's gotten his ass handed to him a lot. So they let me work Meat Station, and I fucking take the bull by the horns, you know, suffer a little bit here and there, and Chef John had my back always. Chef Kat taught me the ways. And I'm truly and forever grateful for their tutelage and what they were able to teach me. So I'm working the Meat Station, and, you know, when I went out to the Ocean Drive Blunt Cruise that second time on a bike and said that I was going to work at the restaurant on Meadowood and be sous chef in 3 years, it happened. I became sous chef in 3 years of working at the restaurant in Meadowood. And, you know, there's people that worked there for 1 year and got a job as a sous chef, and that doesn't fucking matter. What matters is your journey, what you're doing. Fuck the guy next to you. You know what I mean? Not in a mean way. Not saying you need to go out of your way to fuck that person, but, like, don't pay attention to what they're doing, man. Everyone needs to do their jobs. Everyone needs to pay attention to what they're doing. And if they do that, then everything's going to be fine. Just like politicians shouldn't be scientists. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway. So we're in the kitchen at the restaurant on Meadowood. I'm having a great time cooking the meat up in the Jasper. You know, I'm doing 12 days. It's great. I'm fucking having catastrophic services. I'm just getting destroyed. And all that was made possible by Chef Jake Rojas. Because if he hadn't given me the tough skin that it would have, you know, that it took to work at these restaurants, then, you know, I don't know where I would have been. I think I would have been more afraid. I think that in a lot of ways, him breaking his leg was a blessing. Because it taught me how to be a leader. It taught me how to adapt and overcome. Which at the end of the day is really what we're doing as chefs. We're adapting and overcoming to the day's challenges. Just like the story I said about the fish, you know, you never know. Some days you just might not have fish come in. And that's if you're getting it the fresh way. You know, if you're cheating and going to get some shit fish from some supermarket for your restaurant, that's another story. But if you truly are getting the best ingredients, sometimes shit happens. It's so sentimental when you talk about food. You know, so I loved the restaurant. I loved Chef Kat's training. I thought that her and Chef John had great food minds. Just the dishes that they would come up with, and you're like, how do you even think of that? You know? And so much respect. Just so much respect. And they're about to open the Yangban Society in LA. So shout out to Chef Kat and Chef John and their family, you know, opening a restaurant. About to show us what's up. So everybody fucking bow down, son. Because you're about to be... I'm not going to say Flavor Town because that's homie's saying. And big up to him for all that money he donated to small businesses. You know, a lot of people hate on Guy Fieri, but he got my respect with that shit. You know, who else did that? Did I do that? Did Thomas Keller do that? No. Guy Fieri did that. He donated that money. So, as far as I'm concerned, you know, and I'm a fucking serious chef. You know what I'm saying? Like, I take it seriously. And for the longest time, I thought that guy was a clown. And now I'm like, he just shut us all the fuck up. Right? You know, donating that much money to small businesses is much more than any other celebrity chef did. You know, and I'm not saying that none of the celebrity chefs did anything. Or that chefs didn't do anything as a whole. Because we fucking banded together and we fucking did shit. But that right there, from Guy Fieri, oh, you're kidding me. We're getting off track here. So, I think working at the restaurant, no matter what, the biggest challenge for me was the mental aspect of it. You know, I think I got strong with Chef Jake, but there was definitely some nights working at the restaurant where you question the fact, like, am I doing the right thing? Is this right for me? Should I be a chef? Should I cook for the rest of my life? Because at certain moments, it felt like you couldn't do it. You know, it felt like you just didn't have it in you. And I think people go through that a lot, and I don't think people talk about it enough. I think people are scared to talk about how they really feel sometimes. And I'm not telling everybody to overshare, because sometimes you got to keep that deep dark shit to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you think of some shit, you're like, I can't tell nobody I thought about that. That's nuts. You know? You can't help your mind sometimes. You know, it's just traveling, you're watching movies, you're listening to music, it's weird. weather, whatever. It happens. And here I am trailing off again, talking about the restaurant in Meadowood. Before I get into my movement over to Charter Oak, the restaurant in Meadowood did burn down. And it burned down not too long ago. And it was sad. It's sad still to this day, It feels like you put all your hard work into something and it burned down to the ground and no one can see the work you put in, and the work that I put in was not physical, it was physical obviously, but it's like I didn't write a book, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing physical there that says I was there. But the imaginary blood, sweat, and tears on the walls are there. And everybody that worked there feels that. And, it burned down and I was sad, I gave myself time to grieve about it. Because you can't be sad forever. But I definitely gave myself some time because this was big, and this is a place where I spent a lot of time at. I spent a lot of after hours time at because that's what we did at the restaurant in Meadowood. We would wait till the sous chefs left, right? Because you had to be at lineup at night at a certain time. If they said, "Hey, we're done breaking down by 11:30," you're done by 11:30. So everybody's lined up, whatever. They go over the next day's itinerary, and then you basically go home. So we would wait in our cars, and then once the sous chefs left, we'd go back in there and prep, because that's what you had to do to survive, and that's what it took, and you did it, and I loved doing it, going the extra mile to make sure. I remember there was nights I would go home, watch wrestling for 2 hours, eat junk food, complete disregard for my body, and about to lay in bed, and then say, "Oh shit, I forgot to rearrange my tool tray." So I would do the mad dash, get in the car, drive the 30 minutes from Napa to St. Helena, go to the Meadowood, and fix my tray. And that's how much respect I had for that place. That's how much respect I know cooks out there have for shit that people take for granted or don't even know that this person takes that much care of it. And this spreads to more than cooking. There's just people out there that care. And those are the people that we need to nurture and push on. Maybe that's what COVID's all about. It's here to remove all the shit-ass people that are here and let all the good ones excel. I got a little dark right there. But that's okay. So I'm on Meat Station. I make it to sous chef. Okay, I'm sous chef now at this restaurant. And there's definitely a growth in sous chefs that happens. First of all, you're working with everybody, right? Now you're their boss. So that's a dynamic. That's always hard to see. And once you're their boss, the relationship starts to change a little bit. Not at first. At first, they're happy for you. Right? At first, they're, hey, good job, man. Hey, you're the sous chef now. Hey, great, brother. Hey, love that. But what they don't realize is now they got to do what you say. Right? Not necessarily, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they got to listen to what you say word for word. you know. But you're upholding the standard of the restaurant. You're making sure that they're doing the things that they're supposed to do, right? I feel like nowadays, and maybe this is because of my kindness, it was seen as, you know, it wasn't respected when I would come up to somebody and be like, hey man, why is this like this, you know? And it caused me to get angry, you know? And once I got angry, I would blow up. And once I blew up, it would be like they'd respect me less. And I'd be like, well, why is this happening, you know? And then all of a sudden I realized, I have to like learn how to deal with people. Like I can't just get crazy. Like I'm no one. Let's start with that. Cut the ego out of it. You are no one, right? You're not worthless. You're just worth. That's it. Not worth more, not worth less. Just good enough, you know? It's a strange fucking thing. So moving on. Partly because I forgot what I was talking about. But anyways. So I'm working through becoming a leader in this kitchen. And finally I, you know, instead of trying to be nice to everybody, I'm blowing up. After I blow up, I calm down. And that's when you even out, that's when you sort of get everybody back. Like everybody starts to be like, oh, okay, dude, like I'll listen to you, I respect you, you know. And the one of the best things that ever happened to me as a leader, as a sous chef, was one kid came up to me and he was like, this is Daniel Kim. Shout out to Daniel Kim. He's got a pop up right now with Michael Izzard. Michael Izzard, shout out to you. You texted me one day and then didn't text me. I'm about to call you on this fucking podcast. You text me one day, I said what up, and then you never text me again. Alright? So if you if anybody out here knows Mike Izzard, tell him to hit me up. Stop being a bitch. Alright? So shout out to him, but he you know, Daniel Kim came up to me and said, I'm sorry for every time, and this was when he was becoming a sous chef and kind of was feeling the same struggle that I was, and he goes, I'm sorry for every time that I was rude to you or disrespected you. Like, I see where you're coming from now. I love you and I respect you and thank you, basically. And that moment to me was amazing. And I use it as an example all the time. I tell it to everybody because it is true. You never know what a job is until you do it. So if you're going to be the boss to somebody, if you're going to be somebody's leader, you better know what the fucking struggle is firsthand before you give somebody the reins to run your shit. You know, because then it doesn't become sort of like a, well, yeah, just do that, you know, with no sort of thought into how it's going to go or how it's going to work, you know. So I'm growing as a person, you know, at this point. You know, I'm getting out of a relationship that I had for a long time, and you know, the sort of when you think of the person that you're with is going to be the person that you marry, you know, and that's when that doesn't happen, and you realize that it's the wrong person and it's not for you. It's crazy, you know. It's like the woman that taught me how to put on pants, you know, like for my whole life I was wearing pajamas. Jesus Christ. Like I wasn't dressing to impress anybody. And she was the first person that was like, look, bitch, you don't look good. You look like shit. Okay? Your shirt is stained. There's chocolate Haagen-Dazs stains all over your shirt. You know, you look like your shit on your shirt. And she bought me pants. She's like, get out of those fucking pajamas and be respectful. You know, and it's sad to say that, you know, that I need to put on certain articles of clothing as a man to be respected. But it's true. Because now I see myself judging people. You know, today I was at the post office, saw a man wearing slippers at the post office, and I was like, no. Or when you see dudes wearing sandals with jeans, no socks. Sandals with no socks and jeans. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? Even if he had socks on, it wouldn't be right. That's not what I'm saying. Okay? I can hear the outrage now. Now I'm going on rants about... This is going to become a long podcast. I don't care. You know, because this is my fucking podcast. Sucio Talk, featuring David Sucio, Richard Guillotti Rodriguez of Mayagüez, Puerto Rico. Here we go. You know what I'm saying? My dad actually put together some tunes for this podcast, and we might as well use them now. I mean, this was a lot of the rock and roll that I was listening to in high school. I was riding in this convertible cop car, and it was a 1964 Chevrolet Impala, and it had Hydro Cop across the side, really big, you know. And Chris Ferry's dad would fucking play this shit loud as fuck. And it was always awesome to be in that car. And I remember we would bounce with the hydraulics and shit. I mean, this was an awesome car. Cop car with hydraulics, named Hydro Cop, sprayed across the side. Driving across motherfucking ice cream stores, bouncing and shit, everybody looking. Crazy. Crazy shit. He's going to be proud of me because I used that mix. So that was for you, Dad. You know? Thank you for the mix. It was great. Yeah, so all my mixes for the podcast are done by my dad, who is named David as well. Grew up in Puerto Rico and Chicago. Maybe someday I'll do a podcast with him. He's a very wise man who writes poems. Some of his poems are published. I don't know where, so don't ask me. They were in the 70s, I think. So it was a long time ago now. But when I have him on, we'll ask him about that and talk a little bit more about what the fuck he's doing. But back to what the fuck we were talking about. The life and times and career of Sucio. David. So, and the Charter Oak at this point is starting to open, right? So, I'm sous chef at the restaurant. Chef Kat at this point has kind of moved into this role where she is researching and developing this new restaurant called the Charter Oak, and that's all we fucking know. We don't know anything. And 3 months later, down the road, we get a tour of the place, and it's amazing. And it's this just, broken down fucking historic building that's being rebuilt, and we have no idea what it's going to look like or what's going to happen, but all we know is that Chef Costa is fucking excited about this place, and so is Chef Kat, and they're pumped on it. She's making all the food, and it's great. And she R&D'd that fucking restaurant for like 2 years, or 1 year, and then they went on this tour that was for a long time, and they killed it on that. And during that time, I ran the restaurant at Meadowood with Chef Johnny, or Chef Johnny ran it with me, and he was the CDC. We were sous chefs. It was me, Jacqueline, Carl Alexander at the time, Daniel Kim later on. But it was a good time, and I learned a lot from Chef John. He taught me how to be, sort of Yoda about things. Be calm, cool, collected, make decisions not based on emotion, which is something that I did a lot.
which is different than making decisions with your heart. Which I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I think just based on emotion alone with no heart is not really very smart. That's when you get into trouble. You know, that's when you can have negative feelings like jealousy. It can kind of come bite you. Little bong break for the homies. So basically, I'm about to, still being the sous chef at the restaurant. Chef Cat goes and opens Charter Oak. Charter Oak opens, right? So that means for a year, basically, Chef is back and forth, but he's not really at the restaurant. He's at his new restaurant, which he just opened, which he should be at, So that year, I really bonded with Chef John, and we got close and shit. And then, it got to the point where I was looking to transition, and I didn't know what to do. And Chef Costow had offered me to be the chef at Charter Oak. And at first, I declined. I thought, why would I be the chef of a French fry and burger place when I've spent all this time working in the Michelin system? I didn't see the value in it. And I called Chef Jake and I talked to him. And he said, basically, you're a fucking idiot. Why are you not taking this? Where else are you going to go and be the chef at? That's going to give you exposure. That's going to put you on the map. That's going to give you a place to call home as a chef. That's not you. Maybe it's not your spot, but you're the chef there. That doesn't happen lightly, Good chefs they're out there, but when you're looking, they're not around, And, because all the good ones are taken, as they should be, So that was definitely a crazy time for me, because I was, single now and kind of living crazy and not sleeping well, introverted a lot. I didn't go out anywhere, I just sort of melted into myself, because for the longest time I felt so exposed, because when you have a girlfriend, you're doing shit. You're going to parties, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to go game night over here, and I was like rebellious. I didn't want to do any of that shit. I wanted to just stay home and not do anything, And after a while, I realized that was not good for my health, so I had to kind of step out of that. And that's when I sort of took being a leader more seriously, and thought that in order to make other people's lives better, I have to make my life better. Right? I have to be better than the life that I want to teach to live, So if I'm going to give people advice, basically, I got to take my own motherfucking advice, and I got to start doing the things that I set out to do. So, I started eating better. I started working out. I stopped eating shit food. And took leadership seriously. And when I did that, I saw the value in the Charter Oak, and I said, I could go be a leader here.
I could learn about costing and what it takes to run a whole restaurant instead of just the food part of it. So it really helped a lot in that sense, because I know I could walk in anywhere and run a badass motherfucking kitchen. You know? No question. So the fact that that place, the Charter Oak, was able to give me that is insane. And I clawed and I fought and I elbowed and punched my way out of there. Punched my way out. And I had a great tenure there. And fuck it, I'm telling this story right now because shit, it's my podcast. It was one rainy night. Couple gentlemen were starting some trouble, so they got thrown out of the restaurant. The next night, these guys come back. So I think, hey, you know, that first night I wasn't there. I had the day off. Second night, I'm there, you know, and I'm getting the notice. Hey, these are the guys that started the trouble the other night. So I'm thinking like, hey, maybe I should, you know, the pass is in the dining room. So I'm like, I'm right there. I'm looking at them. I'm like, maybe I should go over there and say, hey guys, is there going to be any issues tonight? You know, just to shoot the shit with them and make sure that, you know, they know that they're being watched, just so they don't pull no dumb shit. So they're like, yeah, you know, I forget to do it. You know, I'm expediting. All of a sudden, the bartender comes up to me and he's like, hey man, like, I don't really want to be over there. Those guys are kind of saying some weird shit. He's like, can I just hang out here at the pass? I said, sure. So finally they wrap up, they pay. I'm like, great, they're out of here, no problem. They go outside, and mind you, this is at the Charter Oak, right? So they go outside and they start disrupting this party outside. And my manager, one of the managers there, goes out there and, you know, he tells them to stop. Like, hey, man, what are you doing? You're at this party. That's not right. They go, fuck you, faggot. They said, what? He doesn't say that. But, of course, he's thinking that, right? He runs back inside. He says, hey, like, these guys, you know, they called me a faggot and they won't leave and they're being really nasty. So, me, I don't fucking take any of that shit from anybody. You're going to sit around here calling people names and disrespect them. It's not going to happen. You understand? So, I went out there and I said, I don't give a fuck who you are. You better get the fuck out of here right now. My exact words. I didn't give a fuck at that point. I did not care what they had to say. You understand? So I stepped downstairs and you know, they're in my face and they're like, what did you say? And I'm like, you fucking heard what I said. I said, get the fuck out of here. All of a sudden, one of the dudes grabs my beard. Just full force. I saw his face change from just no expression to mean and just grabbed my beard with both of his hands. At this point, I've been watching UFC and WWE, WWF for my whole life, right? I take this motherfucker right down with the spin move, and then I'm punching this dude in the face. All of a sudden, this other guy that's with him is right behind me, right? His other friend. And one of the dudes that was serving the party comes and grabs him off me. So I keep wailing on the other dude. And not very hard. This was the thing that I was proud of. I had control. You know, I could stop myself from making too much damage. You know, the last thing I want to do is like beat this guy to death, then I got a case, you know? So it was good times in that sense. So I taught this guy his lesson, and then he went out, and I guess the cops were right there, and he basically stumbled right into or they called the ambulance. He went to the hospital, and the cops came, and they took a picture of my fist and all that, and it was crazy. But I remember that I went outside, I fought this guy, and then I came back inside, and this cook at the time needed help with this lamb, and I went and like sliced the lamb, and with him I was like, alright, so this is how you slice the lamb. Boom, 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 and boom, plated it, and then I was like, alright, and I had just fucking beat that guy's ass. And that, to me, like, reading that as a young cook, I'd be like, this guy is the shit. So I just felt awesome. You know, like, I just beat some guy's ass and then taught a lamb lesson real quick, and I'm the motherfucking chef of Charter Oak. And I thought it was pretty fucking cool. Now, I'm probably going to get in trouble for telling that story, but I don't give a fuck. I didn't say the guy's name. Yeah, he's a fucking bastard. Fuck you. But yeah, there you go. Beat his ass. So that was the end of that story. I feel like this is... After I drink, this is just getting drifty and really dark. But that's okay. We're going to see where this goes. So, you know, I'm the chef of Charter Oak, and I think the blessing of that place was, one, becoming a chef and being, like, feeling like, oh shit, I'm a chef now. You know, like, for a long time, you doubt yourself. You're like, yeah, don't call me chef. I'm not a chef. But being there, I was like, fuck, I really am a chef. Like, this is it. You know, and I lived my dream there. And thank you to Chef Costow for allowing me the opportunity to be the chef at Charter Oak. And it was an amazing experience. It was busy. It was hard. It was unforgettable. And it's something that I will forever remember. And something that I will never take for granted. Because all of these things that I've done truly have formed who I am today, in the kitchen and out. You know, from going to culinary school in high school and learning how to bang there, and then doing the program afterwards, which is the fine dining for, you know, juniors and seniors, which is something I didn't mention earlier, but here it is. We feed the teachers for super cheap and make, like, higher end shit, you know? And just being taken under the wing by those guys, and then going to college and learning that there was a lot more than just cooking, that there was this whole other world that was part of it, the drinking and the partying and the fucking staying out late and not giving a fuck, that I loved, you know? And I've given this business, you know, since I was 16, so, you know, 14 years now, 15 years later, I'm able to tell this story, and I'm able to say that I worked at one of the finest restaurants in the world. The restaurant on Meadowood. No matter what any fucking top 100 list says. It was truly a place that was amazing. And it's sad that it burned, you know, but like we always say, you know, a restaurant is nothing more than a pile of bricks. It's the people with the passion that make it what it is. And that's why great restaurants are great, because of the people, not because of the physical space or the, like, obviously that adds to it, but without the people, it wouldn't be, you know, the beautiful thing that we know to be fine dining or eating out in general. And that's truly how you tell restaurants apart from shitty restaurants and good restaurants, because, like it or not, there's shitty fucking restaurants, and then there's good restaurants. And great restaurants are sometimes shitty. And shitty restaurants sometimes are great. And that's just the way it is. So we got to get over it. Fucking push our egos aside. And help each other out. And we'll be okay. You know? So now, shit. Now I'm just straight chilling. Smoking weed. That's one of the things too that I want to mention. I did this all while smoking weed, while high as fuck. Okay, so let me tell you this: success is never denied by drugs. All right, it was a spokesperson right here. Tell your kids it's Sucio talk. You can say whatever the fuck you want on here. All right, that's what Dave told me. Anyway. Well, shit, I think that's it. I think I'm going to do some shout-outs right now. Let's do, I want to shout out Kenneth Foom. He's the CDC in Noma, Copenhagen. He said what up the other day. He DM'd me. He starts at Tram a while back. Lovely dude. And, he just became CDC in Noma a couple months ago. I think it's probably like 5 months ago now. But congratulations to him and super humbled to hear him say that he listens to the podcast and that he likes it, And also shout out to Angel Ilola at angelilola.com, ANGELELOLA.com. He basically listened to me and Chef Costow shoot the shit, and he said that it inspired him to start his own business online and start hustling. So good for him, and that's exactly what the fuck this podcast is about. It's about inspiring people to do what I know they can do and what they know they can do. Because really, we all know. It's just about doing it and not being scared. As David Goggins says, don't be a bitch, stay hard. Chef Adam Ross, shout out to you. He shouted me out the other day. He DM'd me. He said, "What's up?" I worked with him at Garmager at the restaurant at Meadowood. After the restaurant at Meadowood, he has a great career, and he still has a great career going for him. It's fucking amazing. Kevin Finch. Say what up to Kevin and Alexa Finch. You guys are fucking awesome. I was supposed to do a podcast with Kevin Finch, his old CDC of Atelier Cran, and opening sous chef of Ensu, which is the restaurant Chef Costow has in Shenzhen, China. Shout out to Miles Punzak Poe, he's a chef there. But we were supposed to do a podcast, but pandemics happen. You got to change, so we won't have him on yet. But I want to say what's up to him. He's always a huge supporter of the show, always reposting and shit like that. And my people, whenever you're listening to the show, repost. Show people what's up. Show people Sucio Talk is the way to go. You know what I mean? If you know about anybody important that you think needs to be on this show, you let me know, and I'm there. All right. By the way, and tomorrow, Truffle Shuffle is on Kelly Clarkson. So, what the fuck's today? January 26th. January 27th, they're on Kelly Clarkson. Alright, so check it out, Kelly Clarkson. I just opened up a company called Sucio Arts, so we're going to be hitting the ground running on some shit. I'll keep you guys posted on what's going on. If you want to communicate with me, it's suciotalk at gmail.com, suciotalk at gmail.com, no underscore. This has been a podcast with David Richard Guillotti Rodriguez, Del Castillo, Fontana, Quintana, Sutana. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself, and I hope that everyone has a great time out there. This has been Sucio Talk episode 10. It's been fun. We've been drinking, we've been smoking. We've been reporting on the life and times of David Sucio. Peace out, y'all.